Your phone buzzes, your inbox overflows, and your focus scatters in many directions. This hurried state is the opposite of the deep calm the ancient Stoics practiced. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Understand this, and you will discover strength. That strength is what we aim to uncover." This video shows how Stoic mindfulness is not passive watching. It is an active practice, a training of your attention to build a steady foundation for deep, calm focus. We will explore key ideas like the distinction between what you can and cannot influence, and staying grounded in the present moment, reshaping your sense of where your mental energy belongs. By the end, you will have a useful approach to take back your focus from the rush of daily life. How will you decide to guide your attention today? How much of your mental energy is spent worrying about things you cannot change? This single question points directly to the first and most vital practice of Stoic mindfulness. The ancient teacher Epictetus began his famous handbook with a powerful distinction. He wrote, "Some things are up to us while others are not. Up to us are our judgments, our impulses, our desires, and our actions. Not up to us are our body, our property, our reputation, and our public standing." In simpler terms, we have absolute command over our inner world, our choices, and our attitudes, but we have very little real influence over the outer world of events and other people's thoughts. Every time we pour our mental focus into trying to manage what is not up to us, we are building our house on sand. The foundation will never be solid. This creates a constant internal noise, a background hum of concern that scatters our concentration. Think about the last time you received some critical feedback at work, perhaps from a manager or a colleague. The content of that feedback, the words they used, and their opinion of you, those are all outside your direct control. You cannot reach into their mind and change what they think. But your response, your decision to listen with an open mind, to sift the useful insight from the unhelpful tone, to choose your next steps with intention, that entire process is squarely within your sphere of command. When you redirect your attention from the criticism itself to your own constructive response, you quiet the mental noise. You reclaim the energy that was being spent on resistance and convert it into fuel for calm, purposeful action. So take a quiet moment and reflect. Can you list 3 things that recently stirred up concern for you? Now, look at each one. Was it something within your own choices and judgments? Or was it an external event, another person's action, an outcome you could not shape? Simply sorting them into these 2 categories begins the work of building that strong foundation for your focus. Stoic mindfulness begins with a simple but challenging command: pay attention to your mind right now. The Stoics called this practice prosoche, a word meaning attention or vigilance. It is the foundational habit of watching your own thoughts and impressions as they arise, like a gatekeeper who is always present at the entrance to your mind. This is not about harsh self-criticism. It is about developing a quiet awareness of your inner world, the first and most essential step toward self-knowledge and rational action. Seneca wisely advised us to guard the mind's entrance with particular care, because it is through our initial, unexamined impressions that disruptive emotions first enter. Think of that sudden surge of frustration when another driver cuts you off. The immediate, automatic impression might be one of personal injustice, a story that someone has wronged you. Without prosoche, that impression instantly becomes a full-blown judgment. You assent to it without question, and frustration floods your system, pulling your focus and your calm for the next several minutes. But with that gentle, continuous attention, you notice the impression itself. You see the story of injustice appear in your mind. In that crucial moment of noticing, you create a tiny space, a gap between the event and your reaction. That space is where your freedom lies. It is the difference between being a passenger swept along by every mental wave and being the captain who can choose a different course. This practice transforms your relationship with your own mind. You start to see your thoughts not as absolute truths, but as passing mental events, some useful and some not. Today, try this simple exercise. Choose one automatic negative thought that commonly arises for you. It could be a worry about a future task or a flicker of self-doubt. Your only job is to notice it without any judgment. Do not try to argue with it or push it away. Just observe its presence as if you were watching a cloud drift across the sky. This act of detached observation is the very muscle of Stoic mindfulness, the training that builds your foundation for unshakable concentration. What if your first thought about a situation is almost always mistaken? This is the challenging question at the heart of the next Stoic discipline, the practice of assent. After you have learned to notice your initial impressions, as we just discussed, the next important step is to pause before giving your immediate agreement. The Stoics taught that our raw perceptions are often layered with instant, unhelpful interpretations. An event happens, and our mind quickly places a label on it, calling it good or bad, fair or unfair. The practice of assent is the conscious choice to step back and question that label before you accept it as your truth. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful method for this. He advised himself to look beyond the story you are telling yourself about what is happening. He wrote that when you are distressed by an external thing, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your own judgment about it. And you have the ability to set that judgment aside at any moment. This is the act of removing the "it is awful" label your mind automatically places on an obstacle. Consider the common experience of receiving a brief, one-line email from a colleague. The initial impression, the story you might tell yourself, could be one of personal disregard. You might think they are upset with me, or this is a deliberate criticism. This story carries a strong emotional charge, leading to frustration or worry. But what if you look past that story? What are the simple, objective facts? The facts are clear. You received a message made of words on a screen. That is all. By separating the neutral event from the loaded narrative, you drain it of its disruptive power. You create the mental space to choose a calm, thoughtful response instead of a reactive one. Think back to a recent moment where you felt a flash of offense. Perhaps someone made a remark that felt dismissive, or a plan you were excited about was suddenly changed. Now try to re-examine that moment. Set aside the story of what you thought it meant. What actually happened in the plainest terms possible. This exercise is not about denying your feelings, but about understanding their true source. You begin to see that your peace of mind is not held captive by external events, but by the judgments you agree to every single day. Looking down at your life from a great height, you would see all its interconnected parts not as isolated dramas, but as small movements within a vast, unfolding whole. This shift in perspective is the heart of the ancient Stoic exercise known as the view from above. It is a deliberate mental visualization, a tool to pull you out of the narrow confines of a single frustrating moment and place you within the grand context of the cosmos and the immense sweep of time. Marcus Aurelius frequently practiced this, reminding himself to consider the connection of all things in the universe and their relation to one another. He would reflect on how countless cities and entire civilizations have risen and faded, making his own current concerns seem almost vanishingly small. This is not meant to make your life feel insignificant, but to create a profound sense of mental spaciousness. freeing up the energy once consumed by minor worries for genuine, calm concentration. Consider the common frustration of a delayed flight. In the moment, it feels like a massive disruption, a personal inconvenience that throws your entire plan into uncertainty. Your mind fills with the noise of frustration, the lost time, the potential ripple effect on your schedule. Now, apply the view from above. From the vantage point of a satellite, the airport is a tiny speck. Your life is a single thread in a tapestry of billions, and this 2-hour delay is a mere pinprick on the long timeline of your existence. Seen from this expanded perspective, the emotional charge around the event simply dissipates. The delay is still a fact, but it is no longer a catastrophe. It becomes a manageable circumstance, something you can respond to with patience rather than react to with stress. This mental spaciousness is the very foundation upon which calm focus is built. The next time a challenge feels overwhelming, pressing in from all sides, try this simple visualization. Close your eyes for just a moment and pull your viewpoint back. See the room you are in, then the building, then the city, until you envision the planet itself, a silent sphere moving through the immense quiet of space. Notice how the urgent problem begins to shrink, losing its power to dominate your entire field of attention. In the quiet that follows, you will find the space you need to choose your response, not from a place of panic, but from a foundation of profound perspective. The Stoics proposed we should not just accept what happens, but genuinely love it. This principle, known as Amor Fati, is the ultimate culmination of the mindful foundation we have been building. It is the final, decisive shift from resisting the current of life to swimming with it, conserving every ounce of mental energy that would otherwise be lost to struggle. Epictetus gave this radical instruction, saying, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go well." This is not a call for passive resignation. It is an active, dynamic embrace of every single event, especially the challenging ones, as the very raw material you need to practice virtue and build your strength. Every obstacle becomes fuel. Every setback is redrawn as a training ground. The internal conflict of wishing reality were different simply vanishes, and in that quiet you find a profound capacity for concentration. Imagine a project you poured your heart into, one that ultimately did not succeed. The conventional reaction is to see it as a disappointment, a learning experience that tests your confidence. The mental noise of looking back and self-reflection is immense, scattering your focus for days or weeks. Now apply Amor Fati. See that same project not as a disaster, but as a necessary lesson. It taught you something crucial about planning, about teamwork, about your own resilience. It strengthened your character in a way that an easy success never could. By loving the fate that brought you this experience, you transform it from a source of distraction into a cornerstone of your focus. Think of one recent challenge in your own life. It does not need to be large. Perhaps a plan was cancelled or a goal felt further away. Now challenge yourself to list 3 potential gifts hidden within that very situation. What did it teach you about patience? Did it reveal a new path you had not considered? Did it strengthen your resolve? In finding these answers, you are not just making peace with the past. You are actively building a mind so resilient and so focused that nothing life brings can truly break its concentration. The Stoics believed each of us has an unassailable fortress within. They called this the Inner Citadel, a core self governed by reason that remains untouched by the chaos swirling outside its walls. This is not a physical place, but a profound mental state you can learn to access. Through the disciplined practice of mindfulness we have been exploring, you strengthen this inner stronghold, creating a space of absolute peace where your focus cannot be broken. Marcus Aurelius frequently turned to this idea for his own strength. He wrote, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the hills." But this is altogether unphilosophical when you can at any moment retreat into your own mind. Nowhere can a person find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own soul. This is the ultimate application of Stoic mindfulness. It is the ability to withdraw from the noise of a situation and reconnect with your inner command center, the part of you that observes without being swept away. Imagine a high-pressure business meeting. Tensions are rising, voices are becoming sharp, and the collective anxiety is thick in the room. Someone who has not built their inner citadel gets pulled into the emotional current. Their heart rate climbs, their thoughts become reactive, and their focus shatters into a dozen defensive pieces. But another person in that same room, one who has practiced this retreat, does something different. They feel the tension, they hear the raised voices, yet they consciously take one quiet mental step back. In that moment, they are not ignoring the meeting. They are accessing their citadel. From that inner vantage point of calm reason, they can listen more clearly, separate useful points from unproductive emotion, and choose responses that are measured and effective. Their focus becomes a laser, precisely directed because it is anchored in an unshakable inner peace. The external chaos simply loses its power to disrupt them. So take a moment to visualize your own inner citadel. What does it feel like to be inside that space of complete mental quiet? Is it a feeling of solidity, as if you are rooted to the earth? Is it a sensation of spaciousness and light within your own mind? Describe to yourself the quality of your focus when you are sheltered there, untouchable and clear. This is not an escape from the world, but the foundation from which you can engage with it most powerfully. We are often told that the path to a calm mind is to avoid thinking about negative outcomes. But the Stoics proposed the exact opposite. Their practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties, argues that by courageously envisioning what could go wrong, we systematically disarm our fear of it. This is not pessimistic worrying. It is a strategic exercise in emotional readiness. Seneca advised us to rehearse in our minds the possibility of exile, hardship, and all other such trials, not to live in dread of them, but to soften the impact of fortune by contemplating its uncertainties in advance. The goal is to face life's unknowns not with naive hope, but with unshakable preparedness. When you vividly imagine a challenge beforehand, you accomplish two vital things. First, you desensitize yourself to the initial shock of the event. The surprise and panic are drained away because the scenario is already familiar territory to your mind. Second, and more importantly, you give yourself the gift of a pre-planned, rational response. You are no longer a reactive passenger in a crisis, but the calm pilot who has already run through the emergency procedures. Consider an upcoming difficult conversation you need to have, perhaps asking for a raise or addressing a conflict with a friend. Your anxiety likely stems from fearing the worst-case response, maybe a sharp refusal or an emotional reaction. Now apply premeditatio malorum. Sit quietly and deliberately imagine that very outcome. Picture the other person reacting with frustration or cool dismissal. Then, and this is the crucial step, decide in advance what your Stoic response will be. Your response is not about winning the argument, but about maintaining your own virtue. You might plan to respond with quiet dignity, saying, "I understand this is difficult to hear, and I respect your perspective." By scripting your own calm and rational reaction, you strip the feared outcome of its power to derail you. The event may still be challenging, but it will not trigger panic because you have already navigated it in the safe harbor of your own mind. Take a moment to bring this practice to your own life. Is there an event on the horizon that stirs anxiety in you? Write down the single outcome you fear the most. Then, right beside it, write the single, virtuous response you choose to have, no matter what happens. This simple act of preparation builds a foundation of calm so solid that even in the face of disappointment, your inner balance remains unbroken. Much of our mental noise comes from wanting things we cannot have or control. We might wish for a specific promotion, an ideal relationship, or the approval of others, tying our inner peace to outcomes that are ultimately outside our command. This constant, restless wanting is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom, a draining effort that leaves us perpetually agitated and scattered. The Stoics identified this as a primary source of distraction, and they prescribed a powerful remedy known as the discipline of desire. This practice involves consciously training your desires to seek only one thing, excellence of your own character, and to accept everything else as it occurs according to nature's plan. Epictetus offered a stark and liberating truth on this matter. He said, "Freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of one's desires, but by the removal of desire." He was not advocating for a life without passion or purpose. He was pointing to the profound peace found when you stop desiring what is not up to you. When your deepest want is to act with integrity, courage, and wisdom in this very moment, then you can never be disappointed by the outside world. Your satisfaction is placed entirely within your own hands, ending the internal struggle for externals. Consider the modern desire for social media validation. You might post a carefully crafted photo or a thoughtful comment, and then you find yourself repeatedly checking for likes and positive replies. Your focus is hijacked, your mood fluctuating with every notification or lack thereof. Your desire is fixed on an external, the approval of your audience, which you cannot control. Now apply the discipline of desire. Shift the object of your wanting from the external validation to the internal act of posting with integrity. Your desire becomes to express yourself honestly, to share something you believe has value, regardless of the digital response. The moment you make that internal shift, the mental noise vanishes. You are free. The compulsive checking stops because the source of your fulfillment is already complete within you, in the virtuous act itself. So take a moment for a quiet reflection. Identify one external thing you strongly desire right now, perhaps a particular career milestone or a certain person's affection. Now ask yourself this simple question: how would my mental state change if I shifted that desire inward, focusing only on my own effort, my own kindness, my own honorable conduct in pursuit of that goal? The quiet you discover in that shift is the sound of a mind building an unshakable foundation for calm. The Stoics kept a symbolic object on their desk, not to be somber, but to stay focused. This practice, known as memento mori, serves as a gentle reminder of our finite time. Far from a dark fixation, it is a profound tool for clarity. It cuts through the fog of daily distraction by asking the most important question of all: if your time is limited, what is truly worthy of your attention? Marcus Aurelius reflected on this, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not suggesting a life of frantic activity, but one of deep intention. To live each day with that awareness is to live without haste but with absolute purpose. It strips away the trivial concerns that so often fragment our focus. Consider the common evening dilemma, the choice between endless social media scrolling and working on a project that holds real meaning for you. The mindless scroll offers an easy escape, a numbing of the senses. But when you hold the lens of memento mori to that choice, the decision becomes clear. One activity is a subtle theft of your most precious resource, time. The other is an investment of your life into something that reflects your values. Remembering that your days are limited does not create panic, it creates priority. It silences the noise of unimportant opinions and minor setbacks, allowing your concentration to settle on the work that matters, the conversations that deepen connection, the actions that build a life of character. So take this question into your own quiet reflection. If you knew for certain you had 1 month to live, what would you stop doing immediately to focus on what truly matters? The answer is not a somber end, but a vibrant beginning. It is the blueprint for building your focus on a foundation that endures. In a world telling you to want more, Stoicism teaches the radical art of wanting what you have. This contentment is not passive resignation, but an active and profound recognition of the sufficiency already present in your life. When your mind is perpetually reaching for the next possession, the next achievement, or the next source of validation, it is never truly here. It is scattered across a future that does not yet exist, leaving your attention fragmented and your focus weak. Stoic mindfulness reverses this by anchoring you in the present and redefining the very source of your happiness. Seneca captured this beautifully when he wrote, "It is not the person who has too little who is poor, but the one who craves more. True wealth is found in wanting what you already possess." This is the foundation of a settled mind. Consider the mental state of someone caught in the cycle of consumerism. They see an advertisement for a newer model of a device they own, and immediately a sense of lack is created. Their current phone, which worked perfectly moments before, now feels outdated. Their mind fills with plans to acquire, comparisons to others, and a background hum of discontent. This restless seeking is a constant drain on their mental energy. Now, contrast that with the mindset of someone practicing stoic contentment. They look at the same device and see a tool of incredible capability. They feel gratitude for the connection it allows and the knowledge it provides. Their mind is not pulled into a future of wanting, but is fully present, calm, and available for the task at hand. This feeling of sufficiency creates a quiet mental space where deep concentration can flourish. To bring this into your own life, take a quiet moment and list 3 things you are genuinely grateful for that cost no money. Perhaps it is the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of a loved one's laughter, or the simple comfort of a deep breath. As you name each one, focus not just on the item, but on the feeling of sufficiency it brings. This simple act of gratitude is a direct training of your attention, pulling it back from restless wanting and anchoring it firmly in the abundant reality of the present. The Stoics believed we should occasionally practice being uncomfortable on purpose. This idea, known as voluntary discomfort, might seem strange in a world dedicated to seeking ease, but its purpose is profound. It is a deliberate training of your mind to encounter hardship without losing its center. By willingly stepping into a minor challenge, you prove to yourself that your inner peace and your capacity for concentration are not held hostage by your external circumstances. You build a resilience that runs deep, a quiet confidence that you can handle far more than you thought possible. Seneca explained this practice with great clarity, writing, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you will be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" He was not glorifying poverty, but demonstrating how to disarm its terror. You harden yourself against fortune's unpredictability by showing your own mind that you can endure and even thrive within simplicity. A powerful yet simple place to begin is with your morning shower. For the final 30 seconds, turn the dial to cold. Your first instinct will be a sharp gasp, a desire to tense up and escape the sensation. This is the exact moment for practice. Instead of fighting it, turn your focus to your breath. Keep it steady and deep. Observe the physical sensation without letting it dictate your mental state. You are not just taking a cold shower, you are conducting a vital experiment. You are proving that an uncomfortable feeling does not have to shatter your calm or break your focus. This small daily act becomes a powerful metaphor for all of life's larger inconveniences and setbacks. It builds the muscle of endurance, teaching you that you can remain the calm observer even when your body is sending signals of alarm. So the challenge is this week, choose one small voluntary discomfort to integrate into your routine. It could be that cooler shower, skipping a snack you routinely crave, or taking a walk in brisk weather without a heavy coat. Do not make it a test of suffering, but a practice in mindful observation. Notice the initial urge to resist, and then consciously choose to relax into the experience. Pay close attention to what happens in your mind afterward. Do you feel a subtle sense of strength, a quiet knowledge that your focus is more resilient than you knew? This is the foundation being laid, one small, voluntary challenge at a time. The Stoics saw themselves as citizens of the universe, intimately connected to all of nature. This profound sense of belonging is the heart of sympatheia, the idea that everything in the cosmos is woven together in a single, living fabric. You are not an isolated spectator watching the world go by. You are a vital thread in its tapestry. When you internalize this perspective, the small, ego-driven anxieties that so often shatter your focus begin to lose their power. Your personal worries are not erased, but they are placed within a context so vast that they can no longer dominate your entire field of vision. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this unity, writing that all things are intertwined with one another. A sacred bond exists between them, and almost nothing is alien to anything else. He saw the world as a single tree with all of us as its branches, drawing life from the same root and sharing the same air. This is not a vague, poetic notion, but a practical tool for mental clarity. Consider the familiar frustration of a team project where one member is not contributing their fair share. The conventional, ego-centered reaction is to feel personally wronged. Your mind fills with stories of injustice, your focus splinters into resentment, and your energy is drained by the internal monologue about your struggling colleague. Now apply the lens of sympatheia. See the entire team, including the person having difficulty, as part of a single organism. Perhaps that individual is facing a private challenge, a gap in understanding, or a simple fear of failure that has held back their contribution. This does not excuse the inaction, but it reframes it from a personal attack into a collective challenge. Your role shifts from an aggrieved individual to a supportive part of the whole. Your focus can then be redirected from frustration about the problem to calmly seeking a solution that helps the entire team, and therefore you move forward. This shift creates a spacious, calm mind, free from the clatter of personal offense. So take a quiet moment with one current challenge in your own life. Now widen the frame. How does this single difficulty connect to the lives of others around you, to the systems you are part of, to the long and complex story of human experience itself? Seeing your challenge as one small movement in a vast, interconnected dance can be the very thing that quiets the noise and restores your capacity for deep, calm concentration. Seneca ended his days with a simple but powerful question he asked himself. When the lamps were put out and the house was quiet, he would examine his entire day, turning his mind back through every action and conversation. He wanted to know, what challenges did you navigate today, what strengths did you practice, and where did you allow yourself to be unsettled by things outside your influence? This nightly ritual was not a harsh self-interrogation, but a gentle and systematic way to sharpen his awareness. It is the practice of the evening review, a tool to hone your mindfulness and consciously prepare for a more focused tomorrow. The goal is to look back without judgment, as a scientist would study data, to see where your application of guiding principles was strong, and where it faltered. You are not looking for faults to punish, but for patterns to understand. Think about a moment today when your focus was completely scattered, perhaps by an unexpected difficulty or a trying exchange. In that moment, did you remember the distinction between what you can and cannot direct? Did you pause to separate the external circumstance from your internal judgment about it? Or did you get swept away by the initial story your mind created? The evening review gives you a safe space to revisit that scene. You see yourself receiving the news, feeling the surge of emotion. But now, with the calm of reflection, you can ask, what part of that was truly within my power? The event itself was not, but my reaction, my breath, my decision to take a walk before responding, all of that was mine to command. By identifying that precise point where you handed your focus over to an external, you learn exactly where to build a stronger foundation next time. Tonight, set aside just 5 minutes. Find a quiet space and ask yourself only one focused question, guided by that core philosophical distinction. Where today did I invest my mental energy in things I cannot control, and where did I successfully channel it into my own choices and actions? This is not about creating a long list, but about cultivating a profound clarity. This simple act closes the day not with regret, but with purposeful learning, setting the stage for a tomorrow where your concentration begins on more solid ground. Stoics sought not to feel nothing, but to be free from the tyrannical grip of destructive emotions. This is the true meaning of apatheia, a word often mistranslated as apathy. Apathy implies a hollow lack of care, a numbness to the world. Apatheia is the exact opposite. It is a state of vibrant, clear-minded engagement, where your judgment is no longer clouded by the storms of irrational passion. The Stoics viewed these overwhelming states as disturbances of the soul, flawed judgments that sweep us into powerful waves of frustration, consuming worry, or persistent discontent. Apatheia, then, is the inner health that comes from correct reasoning, the serene foundation from which you can direct your focus with absolute precision. The teacher Epictetus drew a crucial distinction to help his students understand this. He spoke of the initial, involuntary shock of an impression, what the Stoics called a propatheia. This is the gasp of surprise at a loud noise, the quick flash of heat when someone speaks sharply to you. This initial feeling is natural, automatic, and not within your direct control. The full emotional reaction, however, is what comes next. It is the sustained state of frustration you build from that initial spark, the story of personal slight you nurture, the internal dialogue or the distraction that follows. Apatheia is not the absence of the initial shock. It is the powerful choice to not fuel that spark into an all-consuming fire. Consider a moment of sudden frustration when a colleague publicly dismisses your idea. That first jolt of heat, that sting of embarrassment, is the propatheia. It happens. The emotional turbulence is what unfolds if you accept the judgment that this is a significant personal defeat. It is the simmering distraction that pulls your focus from the rest of the meeting, the mental replay of the event that occupies your afternoon. With apatheia, you acknowledge the initial sting, you feel its presence, but you then bring your reason to bear. You might think their dismissal is their opinion, which I cannot control. My value is not determined by a single comment. My power lies in how I choose to respond. By not adding the fuel of a flawed judgment, the initial feeling, acknowledged and examined, simply loses its power and fades. Your mind remains clear, your concentration intact, ready to re-engage with the discussion from a place of calm strength. What is the one emotional pattern that most often disrupts your own focus? Is it a surge of frustration in traffic, a sense of unease when a peer succeeds, or a spiral of concern about a future task? Identify it and then gently ask yourself, what is the underlying thought here? What story am I telling myself about this situation that is triggering such a powerful reaction? Uncovering that hidden thought is the first step toward calming the emotional wave and reclaiming the clear, steady mind where true concentration lies. For the Stoics, wisdom was not merely a collection of facts. It was the active skill of living well in each unfolding moment. They called this phronsis, or practical wisdom, and they saw it as the master virtue, the guiding intelligence that directs all the other principles we have discussed. It is the engine behind mindful action, the part of you that knows precisely when to apply the dichotomy of control, when to engage in the premeditation of difficulties, and when to simply withdraw into your inner citadel for clarity. Without this practical wisdom, the individual Stoic tools remain just that, separate tools in a box. But with it, they become an integrated system for navigating life with unshakable calm and focus. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, defined this beautifully, stating that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature, and that this is achieved through virtue, in which all actions become harmonious. He saw practical wisdom as the very art of creating that harmony in real time. Consider the complex dynamics of a high-stakes business negotiation. Tensions are high, offers are exchanged, and the pressure to secure a favorable outcome is immense. Your initial impression might be one of challenge, a story that the other side is trying to gain an advantage. This can trigger a surge of defensive emotion, the kind that can scatter concentration. Now watch practical wisdom in action. It first applies the gatekeeper's attention, noticing the defensive story arising without immediately believing it. It then invokes the dichotomy of control, recognizing that the other party's demands and tactics are outside your command, but your own preparedness, your listening skills, and your ethical choices are entirely within it. This realization instantly eases some of the tension, creating mental space. Next, practical wisdom might draw upon the premeditation of difficulties, having already envisioned the possibility of a low offer. Because this scenario was rehearsed in the mind, its arrival is not a shock but a known variable, allowing you to respond with a calm, pre-considered counterpoint rather than reactive frustration. Throughout this process, wisdom is the quiet conductor, seamlessly choosing which Stoic instrument to play and when, ensuring the entire performance remains coherent and your focus remains a laser on the present moment, not on the fear of the outcome. Bring this back to a recent difficult decision you faced. It might have been a personal disagreement or a professional crossroads. Look back on that moment now. What did your reaction feel like in your body and mind? Was it scattered, pulled in different directions by conflicting concerns and desires? Now, ask yourself what practical wisdom would have looked like in that same situation. It would not have been a single right answer, but a calm and fluid process. It would have begun by asking, what here is truly mine to direct? It would have paused to separate the bare facts from the anxious story you were telling yourself about them. It would have considered the long view, asking how this choice aligns with your core character. That is the quiet power of phronsis. It transforms reactive chaos into responsive clarity, building a foundation for concentration so steady that even life's most complex moments cannot break its calm. The Stoics understood that to find focus in the crowd, we must first find peace in solitude. This deliberate withdrawal was not an act of running away from society, but a necessary return to your own inner source of strength. In the quiet, away from the demands and opinions of others, you have the space to hear your own thoughts again, to remember your guiding principles, and to recalibrate your attention. This practice fortifies the inner citadel we discussed, ensuring that when you step back into the world, you do so not as a reactive echo of its noise, but as a clear, centered voice of your own. Seneca, in his writing on tranquility of mind, offered a powerful insight into this practice. He observed that we must give our mind a break at times, for it will rise up better and keener after resting. He compared the mind to a field that, after lying fallow for a season, returns to its fertility with renewed abundance. This is the true purpose of solitude, to let the overworked soil of your attention rest and recover its natural richness. A simple and profound way to begin is to dedicate just 10 minutes each day to complete silence. Find a quiet chair, leave your devices in another room, and simply sit. Your only task is to observe the procession of your thoughts without following them. Do not try to stop thinking, and do not get pulled into any single story your mind presents. Just watch as if you were sitting on a riverbank, noticing the leaves and branches floating by on the current. This is not meditation for spiritual attainment, but a practical training ground for your focus. You are strengthening the muscle of non-reactive awareness, the very skill that allows you to remain calm and concentrated when a difficult email arrives or a stressful conversation begins. The practice proves that you do not have to chase every thought that passes through your mind. So the challenge is this. This week, schedule 15 minutes of intentional solitude. Go for a walk without a podcast, sit in a park without your phone, or simply close your door and be still. Do not seek any grand insight or solution. Your single goal is to observe the quality of your own mind when the world is not shouting into it. What do you notice when you stop filling every silent moment? The clarity you find in that quiet may just become the most solid foundation for your focus yet built. A Roman soldier reporting to his commander did not describe a battle as a terrifying disaster. He stated the facts: the number of troops engaged, the ground lost or gained. This disciplined reporting is the essence of the advanced Stoic practice known as objective representation. It is a mental filter that trains you to see the world not through labels of good or bad, but through the clarifying lens of plain, unadorned fact. Marcus Aurelius constantly drilled himself in this, instructing himself to strip away the story clinging to an event. He wrote, "Do not elaborate to yourself beyond what your initial impressions report." This is the vital work of peeling back the layers of judgment we instantly add to our experiences. Your mind naturally wants to shout, "This traffic jam is awful," or "This criticism is devastating." Objective representation asks you to pause and translate that shout into a quiet, factual statement. The traffic is not moving. A person has spoken words of criticism. By describing the event in this starkly neutral language, you create an immense psychological distance between the external circumstance and your internal reaction. You prevent the emotional hijacking that shatters calm focus. The event is still there, but its power to trigger a cascade of distracting feelings is dramatically reduced. Consider the weight of a missed deadline. The automatic, judgment-laden thought might be, "I failed, and my manager is disappointed in me." This story carries a heavy emotional charge, leading to anxiety, self-recrimination, and scattered focus as you mentally replay the event. Now apply the filter of objective representation. Restate the situation in the barest terms possible. The project was not completed by the intended date. That is all. Notice what happens when you hold that simple fact in your mind. The label of failure dissolves. The story about your manager's permanent opinion softens. The event is just an event that has occurred. This does not mean you ignore the consequences. It means you face them from a place of calm clarity, not from a storm of self-judgment. From this clear space, you can then choose a rational response, such as analyzing what led to the delay and communicating a new, realistic plan. Your energy is channeled into solution-focused action, not drained by emotional turmoil. Take a quiet moment with a current concern of your own. It might be a tension in a relationship or anxiety about an upcoming task. Now, your challenge is to write just one single, starkly objective sentence that describes the core of the situation. Strip away every descriptive word, every value judgment, every prediction of doom. Reduce it to its fundamental components, as if you were a scientist noting an observation in a logbook. What remains when you remove the words unfair, stressful, or hopeless? The simple, manageable fact that remains is the new foundation from which your calm focus can begin to rebuild. Before the world could demand his attention, the Stoic would claim the first moments of the day for himself. This was the sacred space of the morning meditation, a quiet ritual of mental preparation. It was not a time for checking messages or reviewing a long list of tasks. It was a deliberate rehearsal for the day ahead, a proactive grounding of the mind before any external event could shake its foundation. Marcus Aurelius himself began his days with this practice, writing in his meditations to ask yourself each morning, "What difficulty shall I meet today?" He was not inviting worry. He was engaging in a strategic exercise to disarm the power of the unexpected. By envisioning potential challenges, from interruptions to moments of friction with others, you systematically drain them of their capacity to surprise and derail you. You move from being a reactive participant in your day to its calm, intentional author. This practice primes your mind for deep concentration by pre-committing to a thoughtful response, no matter what the day brings. Imagine a modern professional sitting with a cup of tea before the workday begins. They know a difficult meeting is scheduled for the afternoon, one that has historically stirred unease and scattered their focus for hours beforehand. In their morning meditation, they do not simply dread the meeting. They actively visualize walking into the room. They see the faces of their colleagues, they hear the tone of the discussion, and they feel the initial stir of defensiveness in their own chest. Then they mentally affirm their pre-chosen Stoic anchor, a simple principle such as today, I will focus only on acting with wisdom and justice, not on the outcome of this meeting or the approval of others. This mental rehearsal does not make the meeting disappear, but it completely transforms their relationship to it. When the afternoon arrives, the situation feels familiar, almost like a scene they have already navigated successfully in their mind. The initial surge of anxiety is met not with panic, but with the quiet recall of their morning intention. Their focus remains on their own thoughtful action, creating a space of calm concentration amidst the external pressure. Your own day holds a similar potential for grounded focus. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, try this for just 2 minutes. Find a quiet spot, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself what one Stoic principle you can carry through your day. Will it be the idea of control, accepting what you cannot change, or perhaps the discipline of desire, focusing on your effort rather than the result? Name it clearly to yourself. This simple act of setting your inner compass first thing in the morning builds a foundation of calm so resilient that the day's noise struggles to break through. The Stoics believed that to be mentally scattered is to be at odds with our own human nature. Our unique gift, the faculty that defines us, is our capacity for reason. This is not just cold logic, but our ability to understand, to choose wisely, and to act with purpose. When we allow our minds to be flooded by raw emotion or tossed about by every external demand, we are essentially ignoring our core design. We are trying to function against our own nature, and the result is that familiar internal friction, a feeling of being disconnected and adrift. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, defined the goal of life as living in agreement with nature. For a human being, this means living in accordance with our rational nature. A mind that is aligned with this principle is not rigid or unfeeling. It is a mind that flows with a powerful, steady current, capable of deep and calm concentration. Think of a great river flowing smoothly within its banks. The water is powerful, directed, and clear. This is the mind guided by reason. Now picture that same river during a flood. The waters have overtopped the banks, spreading chaotically across the land. They are muddy, turbulent, and destructive. This is the mind overwhelmed by unchecked passions and external chaos. The floodwaters have no direction and no purpose, only a frantic, scattered energy. Your focus is that river. When you feel pulled in a dozen directions, when anxiety about a future meeting or frustration with a past conversation fragments your attention, your mind has flooded its banks. You have temporarily stepped away from your rational nature, but the moment you pause and ask what here is truly mine to direct, you begin to channel the water back into its deep, central course. You return to your nature. Recall a time when you felt completely in a state of flow, perhaps while working on a complex problem, creating something with your hands, or even having a deeply engaging conversation. In that state, were you ruled by chaotic emotion, or were you fully present, your rational mind and your actions working in perfect harmony toward a clear purpose? That feeling of effortless concentration is not a rare accident. It is the direct experience of your mind functioning as it was designed to, in agreement with its own rational nature. It is the sound of the river flowing smoothly, powerful and clear. How much of your concentration is broken by the invisible audience in your mind? This constant, unseen panel of judges can shatter your focus more effectively than any phone notification. Every time you hesitate to speak up in a meeting or second-guess a personal choice based on what people might say, you are handing your mental energy over to something you can never truly control. The Stoic response to this deep-seated distraction is not to become cold or unfeeling, but to apply a liberating clarity, returning to that foundational distinction between what is and is not your own. The opinions, thoughts, and judgments of other people reside firmly in the category of things not up to you. You cannot command their minds any more than you can command the weather. A Stoic, therefore, shifts the entire goal of their action. The goal is no longer to win approval, but simply to act with virtue, to do the right thing as you understand it. Praise and blame become like the sound of the wind, noticeable but ultimately irrelevant to the integrity of your own journey. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a brilliant mental model for this. He said, if someone tells you that so and so speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself against what was said, but instead reply, he must not know my other qualities, or he would not have mentioned only these. This is not about self-deprecation. It is a profound reframing. It takes the sting out of criticism by treating it as incomplete information, a mere opinion that says more about the person holding it than it does about your own character. By not needing to defend yourself, you free up an immense amount of mental bandwidth that was once spent on managing your image. Consider the act of sharing a creative idea, perhaps a new design or a proposal for a project. The conventional mind is paralyzed by the potential for criticism. It imagines the skeptical looks, the dismissive comments, and this internal rehearsal of judgment can be enough to stop the idea before it is ever spoken aloud. Your focus is completely taken over by a future that has not happened. Now apply the Stoic shift. Your entire focus moves from the external reaction to the internal act. Did you develop this idea with care and honesty? Does it represent your best thinking? If the answer is yes, then the act itself is complete and virtuous. Sharing it becomes an extension of that integrity, regardless of whether it is met with applause or silence. The outcome is not your business, only the purity of your effort is. This week, make a quiet promise to yourself. choose one thing you believe is right, something small but meaningful. It could be expressing a different opinion kindly, dressing in a way that feels authentic to you, or finally starting a project you have delayed for fear of it not being perfect. Do it with a conscious decision that the approval of others is not part of the equation. Your only measure of success is whether you acted with courage and according to your own principles. Notice the quality of your focus during and after this act, free from the weight of that invisible audience. Your deep work session is shattered by an interruption. What would a Stoic do? The immediate flash of frustration is a natural first impression, but it is the judgment that follows which truly dictates the outcome. You label the interruption as a terrible inconvenience, an obstacle to your progress, and in that moment you hand over your focus. The Stoic response begins with a fundamental recalibration. The interruption itself is neither good nor bad. It is an indifferent, a simple event. Your colleague's question, your child's request, the unexpected phone call. These are external occurrences outside your complete control. The source of your agitation is not the event, but your internal decision to classify it as a disruption to your peace. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful reframe for precisely this situation. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The interruption is not a roadblock on your path to focus. It is the path. It is the very training ground for practicing patience, for exercising your ability to govern your own reactions. Here is the mental process, step by step. First, notice the impression. Feel that initial surge of heat, the tightening in your chest, the mental shout of, 'Not now.' Acknowledge its presence without being swept away by it. You are the gatekeeper observing the visitor at the gate. Second, apply the dichotomy of control. What can you actually command here? You cannot control the fact that the interruption happened. You can, however, control your response, your breath, your tone of voice, your decision to listen patiently. These are entirely yours. This realization instantly creates a space of choice. Third, choose the virtuous action. What does wisdom and kindness demand in this present moment? Perhaps it means giving the person your full attention for a minute, resolving their query with clarity, or calmly setting a boundary if the interruption is a recurring one. Your virtue is expressed through this deliberate action. Finally, release and return. Once the matter is addressed, consciously let it go. Do not carry the residual frustration back to your desk. Take one deep breath and with intention, guide your attention back to the original task. The entire event becomes a closed loop, a practice session in maintaining your inner citadel. So, bring this framework to your own life. What is the next inevitable interruption you will face today? Plan your Stoic response now. When it arrives, see it not as a thief of your time, but as an invitation to prove the strength of your focus. A scattered mind often lives in a neglected body. The Stoics, for all their focus on mental discipline, never saw the body as a separate thing to be ignored or pushed too hard. They understood it as the vessel for our inner life, the physical instrument through which our reason must operate in the world. A body weakened by constant overindulgence or worn down from lack of care becomes a heavy, uncooperative anchor for the mind, making the demanding work of mindfulness and virtue so much more difficult. This is where the Stoic virtue of temperance finds its physical expression. It is not about denial for its own sake, but about moderation in food, drink, and rest to ensure the body is a willing partner to a focused mind. The teacher Musonius Rufus spoke directly to this connection, arguing that training in philosophy alone is incomplete. He stated that since a human is not soul alone, nor body alone, but a union of the two, the person who seeks wisdom must care for both. He saw physical training as essential for the soul's development. Think about the last time you had a poor night of sleep. the following day, your capacity for patience is thin. A minor inconvenience, like a slow-moving line or a terse email, feels like a major personal offense. Your ability to pause and question that initial impression of frustration is severely compromised because your mental resources are already depleted. The body's exhaustion directly undermines the mind's discipline. Similarly, a diet heavy in processed foods can create sharp swings in energy and mood, leaving you feeling irritable and scattered, unable to muster the calm concentration needed for deep work or thoughtful conversation. The body's agitation becomes the mind's noise, so take a quiet moment for a simple assessment. Look at one foundational physical habit in your own life. It might be the consistency of your sleep, the quality of your nutrition, or the regularity of your movement. Do not aim for a complete overhaul. Instead, ask yourself this: if I made one small, sustainable improvement in this single area, how might it change the quality of my attention tomorrow? Could a more rested body provide a more resilient mind, better equipped to notice its impressions without being ruled by them? This is not about achieving physical perfection, but about building a bodily foundation sturdy enough to support the quiet, powerful work of a focused life. How often are you truly listening versus just waiting for your turn to speak? In our rush to be heard, we often treat conversation as a competition, a battle of monologues where genuine connection is the first thing lost. The Stoics saw this not as a simple social misstep, but as a fundamental failure of mindfulness. They framed deep listening as an active discipline, a practical application of the very principles we have been exploring. It requires the full presence of prosoche, that gatekeeper attention, and the deliberate quieting of your own internal voice. This is concentration in its most human form. Epictetus placed this practice at the center of a wise life. He advised his students, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." For him, listening was not passive. It was an essential part of living sociably and wisely, a way to understand the world and our place within it. When you truly listen, you are practicing the discipline of desire in real time. You are setting aside the powerful urge to interject, to correct, to share your own knowledge or story. You are consciously deciding that understanding another person's world is, in this moment, more valuable than asserting your own. Think about your last meaningful conversation with a close friend. As they shared a personal challenge, did you notice the subtle impulses arising within you? The desire to immediately offer a solution, to share a similar experience of your own, to reassure them with quick, well-intentioned words. Each of these is an impulse, a visitor at the gate of your mind. Deep listening asks you to notice these visitors, acknowledge their presence, and then gently let them pass by without following them. Your entire focus remains on the person in front of you, on their words, their tone, the unspoken feeling behind their eyes. Your goal shifts from preparing your response to fully receiving their reality. This single shift transforms the quality of your attention, creating a space of calm, focused presence that is both rare and deeply felt. Your challenge is to bring this practice to life in a single conversation today. Choose one interaction, perhaps with a family member or a colleague. As they speak, make your sole intention to understand their perspective completely. When you feel that familiar pull to formulate your reply while they are still talking, simply notice the impulse. Take a quiet breath and return your focus to their words. Do not interrupt, do not rehearse. See if you can listen all the way to the end of their thought. The quiet you cultivate in your own mind will become the greatest gift you can offer, and you may just discover that in the space of that deep listening, a more thoughtful and genuine response will find its way to you naturally. What if the tasks you find most boring are your best teachers in concentration? The very chores you rush through or resent are offering you a pure space to practice the Stoic mindfulness we have been exploring. Mundane, repetitive work free from complex demands presents a clear choice. You can either mentally resist the moment, wishing you were elsewhere, or you can accept it as your current reality and pour your full attention into the simple actions required. This is not about loving drudgery, but about using it to train a mind that no longer flees from the present. Marcus Aurelius, who carried the immense responsibility of guiding an empire, often reflected on the value found in everyday duties. He wrote, "When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remind yourself that your duty is to be a human being, and then do what nature requires." He was steering his focus away from the feeling of reluctance and toward the purposeful action itself, however ordinary it seemed. This is the heart of the practice. Washing a stack of dishes, for example, offers a perfect training ground. Your mind will immediately generate stories of boredom. It will urge you to hurry, to think about what you will do when you are finished, to reach for your phone for a quick distraction. Each of these impulses is a visitor at the gate of your mind. Your practice is to notice the urge without obeying it. Instead, you gently return your focus to the sensory details of the task. Feel the warmth of the water on your hands. Notice the texture of the sponge and the sound of the plate being cleaned. The goal is not spotless dishes, but a spotless focus on the act of washing. In this redirection, you are building the very same mental muscle that allows you to remain calm during a stressful meeting or concentrated on a complex project. The discipline is identical. Your challenge this week is to select one mundane chore you usually perform on autopilot. It could be folding laundry, sweeping a floor, or organizing a shelf. Perform this task just once as a dedicated Stoic exercise. Your only measure of success is how completely you can anchor your attention in the physical sensations of the work, observing your mind's desire for escape without following it. In that simple, repetitive motion, you may just find the foundation for an unbreakable focus. The Stoic is free because their mind lives entirely in the only place it can act, the present moment. This is not a philosophical abstraction, but a practical reality. The past is a collection of unchangeable facts, and the future is a landscape of pure possibility, not yet real. To anchor your attention in either is to build your house on a ghost, a foundation that can never support the weight of true concentration. Anxiety and regret are essentially forms of mental time travel, journeys to places where your power to choose and act is exactly zero. All your capacity for virtue, for focus, for building the life you want, exists only in the eternal now. Seneca understood this human tendency perfectly, observing that we are often more frightened than hurt, and that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The future you dread may never arrive, and the past you regret cannot be rewritten. The only thing that is real, and the only thing you can ever influence, is the single, fleeting moment you currently inhabit. Consider the stark difference between two people facing the same workday. One is mentally replaying a clumsy comment they made in yesterday's meeting, their focus clouded by a fog of self-criticism. The other, having acknowledged the same event, has consciously returned their full attention to the report open on their screen. The first person is trying to write with a hand gripping a ghost, their energy divided and their concentration shattered. The second person's mind is a clear, still pool, reflecting only the task directly in front of them. The quality of their work and their inner peace could not be more different. Today, practice this simple but profound reclamation of your focus. Each time you notice your mind drifting into the theater of past regret or future anxiety, do not scold yourself. Simply notice the drift and gently say one word to yourself now. Let that word be an anchor, pulling your attention back from the stormy seas of what was or what might be, and into the solid ground of what is. This single, repeated act builds the mental habit of presence, the very foundation upon which an unbreakable concentration is built. What if you have been measuring success by the wrong metric your entire life? We are taught to chase promotions, wealth, and praise, believing these external markers will bring us lasting satisfaction. Yet this very chase is what fills our minds with performance anxiety and frantic striving, the very enemies of calm concentration. Stoicism offers a radical and liberating alternative. It redefines success not as what you achieve in the world, but as how you choose to act within it. True success for a Stoic is living with virtue and integrity. Your only real task is to act with courage when faced with fear, with justice when dealing with others, with wisdom in your decisions, and with self-control in your desires. When you make this internal shift, a profound change occurs. External results, whether praise or criticism, victory or loss, are reclassified. They become preferred or dispreferred indifference, noticeable but ultimately irrelevant to your core worth. Your self-respect no longer hinges on an outcome you cannot fully control. This creates a deep and lasting sense of calm. Your mind is freed from the roller coaster of hoping for a specific result and fearing its opposite. Your energy can then pour entirely into the one thing you truly command, your own effort and your own ethical choices in the present moment. The Stoic teacher Epictetus directed his students toward this exact understanding. He taught that the goal of the philosopher is not to change the world according to his desires, but to change his own desires and aversions. The aim is to align your wants with what is truly good, which is your own virtuous character, and to release your aversions to things that are not truly evil, which are all the external events you cannot control. Consider an athlete training for a championship. The conventional mindset is fixated on the trophy, the glory, the external validation of winning. This focus creates immense pressure, a mental noise that can disrupt sleep, tighten muscles, and shatter focus during the crucial moment of performance. Now watch the Stoic athlete. Their entire definition of success is internal. Did I follow my training plan with discipline today? Did I support my teammates with respect? Did I give my absolute best effort during the race? The final score is outside their control. Perhaps a competitor performs exceptionally, or an unexpected physical challenge occurs. But by focusing only on their own virtuous effort, the athlete competes with a clear and quiet mind. They are free from the terror of failure because their success was already secured in the integrity of their preparation. This calm concentration allows their trained skills to flow naturally, unhindered by the noise of what if. Your own life holds the same potential for redefinition. Take a quiet moment to write down your current personal definition of success. What does it truly mean for you to have succeeded today, this week, this year? Look at what you have written. How many of those points depend on external validation, on specific outcomes, or on the actions of other people? Now, take your pen and rewrite that definition from a purely Stoic, virtue-based perspective. Strip away every external marker. Define success only in terms of your own character. Success is listening with patience when I feel frustrated. Success is choosing honesty when a shortcut is tempting. Success is acting with courage despite my fear. This new definition is the bedrock upon which unshakable focus is built, because your peace of mind can never be taken from you. Knowing these principles is one thing, living them is another. Here is how to start. The goal is not to master every Stoic discipline at once, but to build your foundation one intentional brick at a time. This begins with a simple, scalable framework you can adapt to your own life. For the next 7 days, commit to focusing on just one core principle. The dichotomy of control is a powerful place to begin. Each morning, as part of your quiet preparation, set a clear intention. You might say to yourself, today, my only goal is to notice when my focus is pulled toward things I cannot control, and gently guide it back to my own choices. This is your daily anchor. Epictetus reminds us that philosophy is not meant to be a clever set of arguments, but a daily practice. He said, if you did not learn these things in order to demonstrate them in practice, what did you learn them for? This is your invitation to move from learning to doing. Imagine your sample week unfolding. On day 1 and 2, your entire practice is simple noticing. You are stuck in traffic. Instead of letting frustration consume you, you observe the thought. You mentally note the traffic jam is outside my control. My reaction is within it. You do not need to change the feeling, only to recognize the distinction. On day 3 and 4, you add your morning intention. Before you even get out of bed, you dedicate your day to practicing this one skill. When a colleague sends a terse email, you feel the sting, but you also remember your morning commitment. You pause, breathe, and ask, what part of this can I actually direct? Your response becomes a choice, not a reflex. By day 5 through 7, you introduce the evening review. For 5 minutes before sleep, you look back on your day. Where did you successfully apply the dichotomy? Perhaps you navigated a difficult conversation by focusing on your own words rather than the other person's tone. And where did you forget? Maybe a sudden change of plans triggered old patterns of anxiety. Look at this not with judgment, but with the calm curiosity of a scientist studying data. Each observation shows you exactly where to build a stronger foundation tomorrow. So your challenge is this: commit to one specific, small Stoic practice for the next 7 days. Will it be the morning intention on the dichotomy of control, or perhaps the 5-minute evening review? Choose one and begin. This is not about a grand transformation by next week, but about laying the first stone of a mind so steady and so focused that nothing can easily break its calm. This entire journey has been about one fundamental shift, from being a passenger in your own mind to becoming its calm and steady captain. Stoic mindfulness is the daily training that builds an unshakable foundation of inner peace. It is the proactive work of watching your thoughts, questioning your judgments, and returning your focus again and again to the only place you have any real power, the here and now. We began by learning to sort our concerns using the vital distinction between what is and is not within our control, a practice that instantly quiets the noise of resistance. We explored the importance of present moment awareness, learning to observe our thoughts without being swept away by them, and we discovered how to reframe every obstacle, not as a personal offense, but as the very material we need to build our strength and resilience. The calm you cultivate through this practice is not a life free from difficulty. It is the presence of a mind so disciplined and so focused that it can meet any challenge without losing its center. Marcus Aurelius beautifully captured this tranquil state, writing, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." True strength is found in the serene acceptance of what you cannot change, coupled with the unwavering responsibility for what you can, your own judgments and actions. As we conclude, take a quiet moment to look inward. What is the single most resonant insight you will carry with you from our time together? Is it the liberating power of the dichotomy, the quiet space of mindful observation, or perhaps the resilient embrace of a challenging fate? Whichever it is, let that be your starting point for building a life of deeper focus and greater peace. If this journey into practical philosophy has been valuable for you, consider joining our community by subscribing for more guidance on living with wisdom and